you're sending messages on LinkedIn and getting ghosted, here's the hard truth. It's not LinkedIn, it's you. I've booked over 1,000 meetings and closed 184 deals. And I keep seeing the 5 same mistakes that people make when outreaching, hence why I'm making this video. I want to make sure that you are the best, and I want to make sure you get to the point, like myself, where you have an 85% reply rate to every single one of your DMs that you send. In today's video, I'm going to run you through the 5 outreach mistakes I see the most. Things like the pitch slap, the walls of text, the templated messages which have dynamic variables of first name, and people are thinking that that's actually personalized. It's not. I'm going to run you through what actually is personalized. And if you haven't seen my how to open the conversation, get an 85% reply rate video, go watch that, because that has the exact templates that I use to get that percentage of reply rate. Now, most outreach fails because people don't know what to say, but because they ignore how humans actually process trust, timing, and pattern recognition. Every single time I send a message, I am trying to break the pattern recognition of sales. We have all got messages on LinkedIn, which is a wall of text with exactly what the person does, exactly how it works, and the pricing, and then asking you to book a meeting. I don't know that person. I am not going to trust them. So I want to run you through how to actually build up that trust properly so that the person looks and goes, hey, this actually sounds interesting. I want to reply to that. Because the first and most important part of sending that initial message is to get them to reply. The first thing I see is the pitch slap, which I like to call sending too soon. What this is opening with a direct pitch, offer, or case study link in the very first message. Why does this fail? Well, it's because of the pattern recognition of sales. Prospects have now been conditioned to spot copy-pasted value proposition lines. Once you're categorized as just another rep, attention drops. Because you are up against nearly every single company now sending automated messages using AI on LinkedIn, you've got to stand out. But the good news is, because there's a lot of noise, it's very easy to stand out. You've just got to make the message feel personalized and relevant. Because imagine you receive a message and it's that wall of text with all the things that I just ran through. You're not going to reply to that, or very unlikely, unless there's only one instance where this actually works, but it's still bad. 97% of your market isn't ready to buy. There's only 3% which are at the bottom of the funnel. If you send one of those messages and they're already looking for a solution, they are the only people who may reply. But again, they probably won't, but they might, because they're looking for the solution. The thing is, because you're sending all those messages, you are now burning the other 97% who could have bought, but you didn't build up enough trust for them to get to a point where they were ready for you to sell to them. That's what happens. So what happens is, a lot of people, they're doing outreach, it's working, they're getting replies, and then suddenly it just stops. And that is because you burned through that 3% who are actually ready to buy, and they're in that kind of buying phase where they're ready for your solution. But the other 97% who aren't, you completely burnt them. And it's very, very, very hard to come back from a pitch slap if that was the first message that you sent. The other thing as well is the 6 gates of trust. You haven't unlocked gate 1, which is relevance. I don't know when you send me a pitch slap if the actual thing that you are selling is relevant to myself and what I need. You have to demonstrate that it is. So an example of this is, hey Bill, I help execs reduce stress by 50%. Here's a case study. Boom, there it is. I may be an exec, but I may not be looking to reduce my stress right now. I probably won't be. I have a lot of other priorities. And one of the things that I love to always think about is every single person, no matter what they say, have time for your product or solution. When they say, I don't have time, what they really mean is it's not high enough up on their priority list. In this instance, if I get sent a pitch slap, you have not proved to me that I should prioritize your solution over everything else that I'm doing, because you haven't built up trust, you haven't initiated a conversation. You have to do that. The fix, start with a bridge. I've already run through a few fixes, but start with a bridge message that naturally pivots into your world without feeling transactional. Give them something to reply to. Use trust compression by signaling relevance fast, not by pushing an offer. Reference a shared connection or an industry-specific insight. And follow the opening sequence structures that will be below in the Qualify Call Booster Kit. And these are the exact templates that I send. Now imagine you receive a message and I say, for example, in my hometown, there is an ice cream shop called Flintstones that everyone goes to, okay? If I send a message to someone in MSurf and I said, hey, first name, I just went for an ice cream at Flintstones yesterday. Honestly, the weather's been so warm recently. I'm loving it. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream to get? Does that sound like I'm selling to you? No. It's relevant and it's personalized. That's actually what gets replies. Not, hey, here's my offer. This is exactly what I do. Are you potentially interested in this? Doesn't work. The next one is the template trap, generic copy pasted messages. Now, the cool thing is, with that example that I just gave with the ice cream shop, I could send that to every single person in MSOF. But because it's relevant, because I referenced something that they would only know because they lived there, it doesn't feel like a copy and pasted messages. So an example might be, hey name, I work with execs and founders to reduce stress by 50%. And you may have used their actual first name. For example, hey Ewan. That's not relevant. You've used my name. Cool. I know that 98% of AI messages or those softwares which can send AI messages can do that. It's called a dynamic variable and you just insert it. Cool. That hasn't proved to me that actually what you are selling, I need. It fails because trust is fragile. Generic messages signal you don't matter. Again, you're not high enough up on my priority list to actually care about what you're selling. The other thing is, the brain spots low effort outreach instantly. It reads as spam. We have all received so many spam messages in email, so many blank or very, very unrelevant messages in LinkedIn that we know what we're looking for. And if someone doesn't put in the effort, we know. And if you're not in that 3% ready to buy, of course I'm not going to reply. I know that you didn't put in much effort. Doesn't feel like you care about me. It doesn't feel relevant. I'm not going to reply. So how do you fix this? You personalize with micro context. So like I said with the ice cream example, that's context. It's something relevant to them, something that only they would know. It feels personal. You could also reference a post, a raw specific challenge, a recent event they went through, or initiative that they're driving at the moment. And you can get this through the posts they're posting, what they put on their profile, reading their about section. I always like to go with their post, so referencing a post they just put out, or geographical relatability, which is exactly what I just went through with the ice cream example. Climb the trusted advisor ladder. Move beyond service provider by showing you actually understand the specific situation. That only happens when you build up rapport and you have a back and forth exchange. You've got to make sure that actually happens by relevant open. Keep the tone casual and human. One personalized line beats 5 generic value props. Always, 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 when it comes to outreach, prioritize quality over quantity. I will always focus on the quality of the message than sending tons of it. It works, believe me. Number 3 is information overload, which is the wall of text. You know, like when you get a message from your friend and they've sent you a wall of text or a very, very long voice note, and you know it's going to be about them venting about the problems that they're experiencing at that time. Most likely, and maybe I'm just the only one, but most likely I'm not, you look at it and you go, I'll get back to that later. And then you get on with the rest of your day. Maybe you come back to it in the evening, for example. Same thing happens on LinkedIn. If I send a wall of text to someone and they open up LinkedIn and they see the wall of text, they're going to go, ooh, I'll reply to that later. But of course, what happens is life gets in the way. They forget that you sent them a message and they don't reply. Short, sharp, and concise is better. Simplicity sells. The simpler the message, the more likely the response. This also fails because early friction, heavy info creates cognitive overload and erodes trust. Again, it's a cognitive overload. They don't want to read all of those messages that you've sent to them. The other thing is, conversations should unfold progressively. Dumping details breaks the rhythm. Save those details for later in the conversation. Use it as ammunition for later. Don't show your hand in the first message that you send. So an example of this is, here's my full service, what it costs, and the booking link. Bam, don't do that. The fix for this is use progressive disclosure. Reveal just enough to spark curiosity, then layer details as trust builds throughout the chat. I went through this in my 18.6 Seller Chat breakdown. Follow the opening sequence cadence. Short, conversational exchanges that qualify interest. Avoid mini landing pages in the chat. Like, don't just send them a wall of messages and it's everything that you do. It doesn't work. Also do a litmus test. Does your message invite a reply or does it read like a monologue? Analyze your messages that you're sending. Does it sound like the corporate email that you might receive? If it does, change it. DMs should sound like conversational flows that you are going through each time you send those messages. One message, one purpose, one clear next step. That is the framework you should follow in every single message that you are sending in your outreach. Number 4 is lack of conversational flow, forcing the agenda. So treating DMs like a linear sales script where every reply sets up a pitch. This fails because you cannot skip gates. When you're walking through the 6 gates of trust in a sell by chat conversation, and if you don't know what that is, I run through it in the Qualified Call Booster kit below. It doesn't pique their curiosity. They don't want to reply to the message because you haven't built up enough trust with them. The other thing is the chat feels very transactional, and the pivot, when you're going to pivot to your pitch, collapses. It's got to feel like you're messaging with a friend. It's got to feel relevant, like they actually want to talk with you. That's the key. An example might be, prospect, I'm busy this week. No worries. When's a good time to book in a call to discuss my service? It's not all about you. It should be about them. You've got to just find a way to make it relevant and make sure that in any instance, you always have an objection overcome. And if you haven't watched my objection overcome video, watch that because it runs through what to do when they say, I'm busy this week. That's a good example. So the kind of fix for this is weave in rapport and relevance together, use pattern interrupts. So I like observation, short personal story, or context-aware angle that resets the tone. A pattern interrupt, which I used and worked, and other companies used and worked, is, hey, first name, I was just out walking my dog and I forgot the poo bags. Lol, what a day. Anyway, and then refer back to what you just said. That's an example of a follow-up. What that does is it's a pattern interrupt. When have you ever received a follow-up message about someone picking up dog poo? I'll wait. Probably never. So make sure that what you are sending interrupts the patterns that they associate with sales. And again, think like a trusted advisor. Advisors guide pace and sequence. They don't force timelines. It's about guiding them through a set pathway to get them to the point where you actually propose what your offer is. And again, all of this is in the Qualified Call Booster kit below. I run through how to open the conversation, how to qualify the conversation, how to propose the call, how to follow up, and how to walk them through the 6 gates of trust. It is all there. You will be able to book meetings using that. I had someone message me last week that they just closed a client using the Qualified Call Booster kit. It's worth using. Number 5 is no clear value or timing misalignment. What this is messages that give no compelling reason to reply or that push action before trust and timing are ready. It's like sending a message and not ending it with an open-ended question. Why would I reply to that? You have to end it with an open-ended question, which elicits them actually wanting to respond. It fails, again, because you aren't compressing pace without sufficient curiosity or relevance kills the thread. You're not building up trust at all. And you're not unlocking curiosity. Why would I reply to a message which A, doesn't even ask a question, and B, I'm not even interested in right now? You're not high up on my priority list. I'm not going to reply to you. An example of this might be, hey, want to book a quick call to see if this is relevant? No, I don't want to do that. And the reason is I'm very, very busy. I'm a founder. I do not have time for this. And in most cases, people tend to sell to the decision maker. You've got to remember, these people are busy. What you send them has to be super relevant and actually something they want to reply to. Make sure it is. The fix is create curiosity. Ask them about a seminar, a post, geographical relatability, provide micro value, offer a relevant insight, resource, or short story that helps them think better, and offer a low pressure response button. Does that resonate? Beats book a call now. Match your pacing to their engagement. Guide step by step up the trust ladder. If they give a short reply, keep your next message short. Mirror them. Mirror their set cadence of messages and mirror how many messages they actually send. Because when you're not face-to-face with someone, you can't match them in body language, tonality, facial expressions. You can't match them with those different physical notes and those kind of physical cues. Instead, you have to mirror them by matching their tonality in the actual chat itself. If they're sending lots and lots of messages, send lots and lots of messages back. If they're sending one-word sentences, send one-word sentences back. You've got to match them. And that is where they will match with your personality and identity. That's a much faster way to build up trust. So to give you some exact examples, what this might look like, from pitch to conversation. So bad might be, we help professionals increase revenue by 30%. Interested in a quick call? A better way of saying this is, saw your post on Scaling Ops, helped a peer tackle the same bottleneck last quarter. Curious what your biggest constraint is right now. Or actually, I went on a call with them and I filmed a 15-minute little section of how we overcame that. Would you like me to send that through to you? Again, it's relevant. Hey, yeah, I'd like to see that. That sounds interesting. Template to tailored. So a bad example, I noticed you work in industry. We help companies like yours, ... Doesn't work. Better, your thread on onboarding touched on time to value. Are you measuring activation within 7 or 14 days at the moment? So the interesting thing is you can also prove that you're trustworthy through your knowledge. If they mentioned a post about, in this case, onboarding, and you say, are you measuring activation within 7 or 14 days? And they're not. They look at that and go, oh, we're not doing that. Maybe we're behind. That's then when you're kind of selling them on the knowledge that you have, and then they are likely to reply, so they want access to that knowledge as well. The key example of this is I saw someone I think it was in the e-commerce space, and on his LinkedIn profile, he said, we lift user activation by 5%, and we help. And he used language that I had never seen in my life because I'm not in e-commerce. And it turns out that he would get roughly 5 to 10 inbound leads a week because people will read his headline and go, hey, do you actually do what you say your headline does? Now, me, not being in e-commerce, didn't understand the headline. However, someone who is saw it and went, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm going to reach out to him. And they replied to his messages. That's the key. From wall of text to progressive disclosure, a bad, here's our full offer, pricing, and link. A better way is I mapped a 3-step fix that we use for a similar team. Want the one-pager. You're giving value upfront. Prove that you know what you're talking about, and by sending them a resource, it proves that you're authentic. You're actually someone that they should listen to and trust. Message patterns you can reuse. So a bridge message is an example. Caught your post on a specific topic, helped their role navigate the same, open to a 6-second summary of what worked, for example. Again, I run through even more in detail examples of these in the qualified call boost kit in the how to open the conversation section. Micro value drop. Quick thought on your initiative. Most teams overspend on X before fixing Y. If helpful, I can share the checklist we use to avoid that. And then just send it through to them. Give them free value, something up front that is relevant and personal to them. Low pressure check. Worth a peak or not a priority right now? That's actually not a good one. What I like to do is, for example, if someone's just ghosted me, you can use the dog poo example. Or one which actually does work is, hey, I was just working with a ex-client of mine. They're also in the same industry as you. I just hopped on the call with them. They're really struggling with reaching out to people at the moment, and a lot of their messages aren't getting any replies. So what I did was I filmed them a video of how to actually improve their response rate, and I got them to about 85%. Would you like me to shoot you through that video as well? That's a good follow-up. It's relevant, and they actually would want to watch that because it's specific to what they're doing now. That's the key. Keep each message single purpose, curiosity, micro value, or low pressure check. Pick one. And rule of thumb, if your opener reads like a pitch, rewrite it until it feels like a conversation. Build up trust. Use the qualified call boost kit to do this properly, but those are the 5 outreach mistakes that I am consistently seeing, hence why I wanted to make this video. When you avoid these 5 mistakes, your outreach shifts from spammy to strategic. There is a lot of noise. If you can do something specific and relevant, you will elevate yourself above the noise and make it as specific and build up trust as possible. I will see you in the next video.